I've got a 2010 Honda Accord LX that won't change the blower vents. I'm replacing the mode control motor, and what I'm doing should be the same on a 2008 through 2012 Honda Accord. The problem is that I can press the buttons for the face vent or the heater vent, and it really doesn't change. I got a new mode control motor. I ended up running into some fasteners that were very difficult to get my hands on. You almost have to be a contortionist to get into it. I put in the new control motor, and I don't think it's working right. In fact, it's now stuck on defrost. No matter what button I push, it switches to defrost or stays on defrost. And I noticed also when I go from floor to face, it makes a loud click. So I'm going back onto the dashboard there. I'm pulling out the blower. You have to pull out the blower on this model to get to the mode control motor that controls the vents. I'm going to see if I can line up the motor a little better and get the vent flaps to work. I think this is going to work, but don't know. I'm going to skip through some of the trim panel removal kind of quickly because I think you can find better videos on the internet on how to do that than I could do. I'm going to try to show when you get into remove the blower, what I found to be really difficult, and just so in case anyone wants to try this themselves. I know it helps if you have rubber arms, but I don't. So here we go. This is the mode control motor back here. I'm going to try to see if I can show it. It's got that white plastic disc on top, and you can kind of see a part number right in the middle there. That's the motor, and that white thing is the disc that turns around and changes the vent settings. Now, let's see where those mounting screws for the blower that are very difficult to get are. Let's see if I can show it. That bolt, got it right in the middle there. That's one of the bolts. You can see where it is under the dashboard. It's way up under there. The other one's even further up. There, that bolt right in the middle, that is one of the other mounting bolts for the blower. And I'll pull it back so you can see. And that's where it is. So that's one of the more difficult parts. First part is to remove the center console, and it's mostly held in just with clips. So the hard part is you got to tug on it, and I think you're not going to break it. So I can't do it with one arm. Well, with a little brute force, I got that loosened up. So they're all clips, nothing holding in but clips, and this whole section pulls out. One of the parts that I found pretty difficult was you have to lift this passenger side kick panel. You've got to bend it because it's attached to this whole console. You've got to bend it up to get it over this piece here. So I guess I can do it. There. It doesn't sound too good, but at first you have to remove the screw there. I had already taken that out. So that's how you start getting the next panel loose down here, as you can see. And maybe I can save someone else some agony here. There's a kick panel down there, like where your foot would go on the passenger side, and it's held in with one of these clips, which I just yanked out and broke. You're supposed to put a screwdriver in. Put a screwdriver in that little slot there and pop it up, and then it comes out easily and you can reuse it. So don't yank this out. It came from down there. So now I'm going to try to take out this kick panel down here where your foot would go as the passenger. I think there's just a couple of clips back there besides that reusable clip that I showed you a second ago. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. It just pries out with a hook, so you kind of lift it up. That's the kick panel I just took out. There's one clip there, a hook that goes in there, and that mounting clip that I broke and we'll try to replace. All right, next is this panel on your door, which again, it has clips in it, only clips, no screws, and it comes straight up. So just kind of find a place where it'll give a little bit. There we go. So you can see it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 clips. And now we'll work on that passenger right kick panel. Apparently you need to remove that kick panel there because there's a fuse box back there, and you've got to disconnect some of the connectors to the blower motor and whatever else is down here. And as I recall, the trick is that this plastic fits into a lip back there. I'll try to here's the deal. You need to get like a plastic tool like this and run it under that rubber because it seats inside. You actually want to pull this rubber seal out like that, and then it will release this edge here. So I think it's just a couple clips in the back. Let's see if I can get that. There we go. And it's good to check that the clips are there. Didn't lose any. Okay, we're moving on. This is the fuse box, and you've got to remove a few connectors here. The description in the Honda service manual isn't especially helpful, so I think I just disconnected everything I could, which is this and this and this one up here. If I can get to that. I might need a screwdriver to pull that out. Alright, that was the radio antenna, and this is the other connector that I needed to get out with the screwdriver. I think that the reason you need to disconnect those wire connectors is because there's a cable bundle that goes up here behind. Basically, it's blocking you from removing the air blower back there. So I'm going to remove, I think there are 3 clips like this I have to find and remove so I can pull the cable out. But here's one of the more bizarre things on the instructions. You're supposed to, this plastic section here holds, all it does is hold that cable bundle. Unless you want to remove the dashboard, you have to cut through. They say use some diagonal cutters to cut there. There's some perforations on there, so it's not like you're having to guess. But there and there, I used a little hacksaw and just went, one stroke at a time, zip, 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 until I cut through. And then you can take those 2 bolts off and remove the cable bundle. So I've already done the cutting. I'm just going to unscrew the nuts and remove the cable. These are 8mm bolts, by the way. 8mm. They use 6, 8s, and even 7s in here. All right, you get the idea. Okay, screws out. So I can I've already cut this. If you haven't done it before, you have to cut there and there with a little hacksaw or something. So I can pull this off. It's still got the cable bundle attached. Also, I was afraid I was going to lose screws last time, so I'm taking the screws that I took out and putting them back in there just temporarily so I know where they came from. Like that. All right, try not to pinch your fingers like I've already done. You pinch that and pull it out the other side, and I'll need 2 hands to do that. But then I'll show, I think there's another bundle clip there, and this one too I might have to remove. That didn't take much really, it almost pulled out by itself. Okay, so that's the cable bundle. This is the plastic piece that you have to saw out and use it again. I'll put that aside. I'm going to take a guess and say that this one has to come out too. I might have to push it out from the other side. I thought it was held, I think it is held back here by another clip. Oh, it is. Oh. There we go. That's loosened. Hey, there we go. Okay, so this cable is out of the way of the blower now. I got there's a 10 millimeter nut that goes something screw that goes in there, and I will try to get with a 7 millimeter. I'm gonna get that one down there. This one isn't too bad. Now the third one is the difficult one. The third one, it's hard to see it and work with it at the same time. It's that little bit of blue you see back there. There. I'm going to try to get that with another 7 millimeter. Got the second screw out. That is really difficult. It's really hard to see back there. So now, yep, I can pull this out. And I recall that fitting it back in there was really difficult. Come on, get. This is the that's that floor vent. That's the top screw right there that was so hard to get out. There's that bottom hole, and this is the big one that attached to the blower right there. It's really hard to get it out of there and back in. Okay, I got to take out a cover on the blower. Just looking underneath the blower, it's this piece, and it's got one screw there that's kind of easy to see. But it's got another one back here, which is really difficult to see back there, I think. So, all right, so I removed the cover from under the blower, and also this connection, which, as always, you have to squeeze it there and pull it down. I'll take out the air filter at some point. It's in there. It's real easy. I did tug on this and managed to break that clamp, but I don't think it matters. It's the only damage I've done. Let's see. You're starting to see, it's a little easier to see the mode control motor. That's that white disc with the black housing in front of it. That's what I'm trying to get to. Even at this point, I can't get a screwdriver up in there. I think the next step is to disconnect the bolts up there, the mounting bolts for the blower. This is one of the things I found pretty difficult. The mounting bolts here. And it helps if you get an extension for a socket wrench. This is like 10 inches or something. It's a 10 millimeter nut up on that mounting bolt. Let's see if I can get it. Okay. Let me move my hands here. There. That's the mounting bolt. So that's one of them. You need an extension to get up there. Let me see if I can show you the other one. I'll show you, to get some perspective, I'll show you where that more difficult mounting bolt is. I think I can see it through here. I can barely see it. There it is, right in the center there. That's another 10 millimeter bolt that's holding the blower up. And it's hard to reach. So let's see what I can do. And then there's another bolt I need to remove. It's right in the center there, center of the screen. And then there's another one. These both are much easier to get to. So you see where it is. All right, I got one of the nuts off the mounting bolt for the air blower. Let me see if I can show this. This is a nut that somehow is connected to this washer, and it spins on the washer spins on the nut. And this is the one where when you put it back in up there on the stud, you have to get it exactly straight on that stud. You can put it on and you start to twist it, and you think it's on there, it stays on there. You put the socket wrench on there and start turning it, and it feels like there's some resistance, and then the resistance goes away, then so on. In that case, it's not on there straight. It has to be exactly straight on that bolt. I got those top nuts off, and now the bottom ones are much easier. There's one on the right and one on the left, and they're much easier to get. Then I'll be almost ready. I'll take out the air filter, and I should be ready to take the blower out. There's a clip down here. It's holding the wire right there. It took me a while to figure out. All you got to do is pull it down with the correct hand, probably. There, it comes out. You can see what kind of clip it is there. And now probably the easiest part of this whole job is taking out the air filter. There's a little clip there, a little tab there, and it comes out. Look at that. If only everything was that easy. Wait, there is one more electrical connector that I don't even know if I can show you. It is where my finger is. There, I don't know if you can see that or not. This one needs to come off. I think that's the motor that controls the hot and cold mix. I'm going to need two hands for this, but at this point I can take out the blower, I think. Yep, oh, it's coming loose. All right, I'm going to use two hands for this. I pulled out the blower motor, no problem. You kind of have to twist it around, but it's not that difficult. I'm just showing this. I think this is the motor that mixes the inside and outside air. I think it's not the one that controls the vents. But I think if you had trouble with the recirculation on your cooling system, this is what you want to replace. I am trying to get up to there. I got a little access now. I could get up to the motor and start working with that. I can finally access the mode control motor. I'm going to pull out the motor. Well, I'm going to leave in the connector for now because I want to be able to see if that thing turns. But it uses 7mm. Yeah, 7mm. Hey, if you're a real geek about these things, I think you can see where the pins are. Those are the pins that move the vents. I got my camera all the way up in there. They're hard to see. But those pins, each of them fit into a wheel that I'll show you. And the wheel turns and adjusts the vents. So let me see what that's the wheel that's got those grooves in it. The pins travel around in there. I believe this is set at defrost right now. So I'm going to try to move the motor so that I think it's in defrost and see if the pin's made up in the right place. What happened the first time was those pins, I believe, did not fit into the grooves. They were out of line. So I'm going to fool around a little bit here. All right, I left the mode control motor plugged in. I've got the key in. I think I need to turn on the fan. Okay, of course there's no fan going on, but I think the extremes are defrost, and vent. And so this motor turns from defrost and stops at each step. So let's see, I'll put it, it's working. Okay, so that should be the defrost position. Should turn about half. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, look at this. So it turned about, it's supposed to turn about half a revolution, I believe, between defrost and vent. So I'm going to put it back to vent, because that's where I think the vents actually are. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to try to mount it and see if it still turns halfway around like that without making a clicking or anything. It took quite a while, but I finally got this thing working. Number one, there's no instructions with this. Number two, I don't think the pins, the 3 pins, are necessarily, when you take off the motor, set to be in the right position to go in the channels on the wheel. It's kind of trial and error to get it to work. When you first put it on, those pins don't go in the channels, and when the motor turns, it goes click, click, bang. So I kept setting the motor. I had it plugged in there with the green connector. I went to the panel up here, and I went to the face vent to see if that worked. If I could, I would loosen it up and then see if I could push the motor back on there without interference, and that wouldn't work. So I'd try the accommodation face and floor, the defrost. Finally, somewhere in the middle, I I found a position that it worked while it was moving. I was kind of putting it back and forth on the mount to see where the pins would stop interfering. And so let's see, it's on face right now. I'll push it on defrost. It should go around about a half rotation. Here we go. One more time because it's really difficult to show this. All right, it's on defrost. There it goes toward the face vent. That's like one extreme. And now I'll push defrost, and it goes all the way around to defrost. It works. One last thing, when you put those 3 mounting screws back in, I found you have to push them pretty hard. They're self-tapping, and they're going into plastic, so you don't want to strip it out, but I would say shove on the nut driver quite a bit so that you get a tight fit, and see if you can jiggle the motor around before you go back through the rest of it, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to put the blower motor back in. Once I got that in, I'm going to make sure that it blows through the right vents for the buttons on the dashboard. When you're putting the blower back on, this bolt up there that I got the light on, that's a real pain. That's the one that you have to have it at just the right angle when you get it on there. And if you don't see some threads from the stud showing through the nut, then you don't have it on there right. It starts to thread itself, and then it just won't go any further. It's not really going on. It's not engaging. So you really have to put that on just the right angle. I mentioned the heater vent. The floor heater vent is very difficult to get in. This socket driver is right in the position where you can screw that one screw that's really difficult to see. Anyway, if you get your driver in that position, you can get the screw, which you can't even see back there. But that's the position.